Hi guys, this is different. Going to try a little video lesson here. Um, I am going to be gone, for retreats and stuff. So I thought this would see how this goes, and I'd like your feedback on it. And if you like it, we can do it some more. But I feel like we're going to miss a lot of days if we don't do something like this. So get your notebooks out and enjoy this virtual lesson with me today. This is going to have to be broken up into a couple of different lessons because we're only allowed 10 minutes. A piece on this. So here we go. First thing we're going to cover today is discover why Jesus chose Galilee instead of Judea. We're going to distinguish the differences between the temple in Jerusalem and a synagogue. We're going to connect the first 7 Beatitudes to the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit and what that 8th Beatitude is about. There are 8 Beatitudes, 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. St. Augustine says that each Beatitude is tied to a gift of the Holy Spirit, and that the 8th one is something special. So we'll go over that, and we'll examine Jesus' words on the Old Covenant. On this video, we'll probably only get from discover why Jesus chose Galilee and distinguishing the differences between the temple in Jerusalem and a synagogue. So here we go, diving right in. Why Galilee? We know, and I told you, and if you read the Old Testament, and if you're well-versed in the Old Testament, which I do not assume you guys to be, that we know that all the prophets came from the territory land of Judea. Now, Jesus starts his mission in Matthew in Capernaum. He starts his mission in Luke in Cana. So what and why would he not start in Judea? Well, Cana and Capernaum are both in a land called Galilee. And the reason Jesus starts in Galilee is actually stated in Isaiah 9:1. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Upon those who lived in a land of gloom, a light has shone. What does that mean? Who are the people who walked in darkness? Well, the people who walked in darkness are actually Galileans. I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. If you look at this map of Israel at the time of Jesus, it's kind of roughly drawn there. You can see Capernaum in the north, Cana in the north, Nazareth in the north, in Galilee. Nazareth is where Jesus lived. Capernaum is where he started. That blue body of water is the Sea of Galilee. And all the way to the south, you can see Jerusalem. Now that's, this map isn't very exact, so how far is it? Well, I'm going to show you. We have Jerusalem down south, and we have Capernaum up north. Now, if all of the prophets came from Judea, and we know that Jesus came to fulfill the Old Testament, why would Jesus not come from Judea? You can see that these are very far away. In fact, if you look at the Sea of Galilee there, Judea, Jerusalem, and Capernaum in Galilee are actually 100 miles away. So why did Jesus come from Capernaum? The answer can actually be found in 2 Kings 15:29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, the king of Assyria came and took the lands of Ijon, Abel, Genoa, Kadesh, Hazor, Gilead, and Galilee, all the lands of Naphtali, deporting the inhabitants to Syria. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that Syrians, or back then Assyrians, came and took over the land of Naphtali. Well, what is Naphtali? Well, actually, it's interesting that you asked. If you asked, I'm assuming you asked. I'm assuming you want to know who Naphtali is. Naphtali was a lesser-known son of Jacob, which means that we know from Old Testament that Naphtali was also a tribe and had allotted land. Where was that allotted land? Well, you guessed it. The allotted land was in the north. Naphtali was the region in which Capernaum would be settled, bordering on the Sea of Galilee. So why is this important? Well, as we see in 2 Kings, Naphtali gets taken over by the Assyrians. Naphtali is the first tribe or area of Israel to be taken over. So why Galilee? Jesus targets Galilee because he's going to reverse the tragedies of Israel's history, of which we know there are many, by restoring the 12 tribes of Israel. The first tribe to fall was Naphtali. And Isaiah foresaw this. And he foresaw a time in the future where God restores hope to Galilee. The people who walk in darkness, who are the conquered Naphtalians, I'm calling them Naphtalians. I have no idea if Naphtalians is their name, will see a great light, that great light being Christ. So that is why Jesus comes out of Galilee instead of Judea, because he is going to restore Israel, all of Israel, not just Jerusalem, not just Judea, but all of it. And he's going to start with the first area to fall, which was Naphtali, which later became known as Galilee and the city of Capernaum. So that's why he starts there. So that's the first point. The second point, distinguish the differences between a temple in the Jerusalem and the synagogue. And we'll get to the other points later. Synagogues were not mentioned anywhere in the Old Testament. They're a place for worship and prayer, but also served as more of a general function as community centers within rural villages. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Jerusalem was a big city. We had other cities like Capernaum, like Cana, like Nazareth, like Bethlehem, that were not as metropolitan or as big as Jerusalem, and they had city centers. Much like the temple was the city center in Jerusalem, synagogues were the city centers in these small towns, kind of like Catholic churches are today. If you think about your community, if you're in a parish, if you're Catholic, your Catholic church is kind of the center of that community. Synagogues were no different, and that's actually where the idea for parish life comes. Assemblies were held on the Sabbath, much like Catholic churches have Mass on Sunday, and the liturgy centered on proclamation and explanation of the Hebrew Bible, much like Catholic Masses today when we celebrate and read both the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, and it's explained to us, hopefully, not all the time, by the priest in the homily. Jewish males were required to travel to the temple in Jerusalem 3 times a year. It's stated in Deuteronomy 16:16. But synagogues served as local sites for non-sacrificial worship, which means no animals were sacrificed in synagogues, and education during the year. So 3 times a year, Hebrew men, Israelite men, Jews had to go to the temple in Jerusalem. But those other times, the synagogue served the purpose of the temple in rural cities. And that is, all you need to know about synagogues. I'm going to stop this video now and start another one for the Beatitudes.